Welcome, everyone, to the HNW podcast. We've got the third podcast here. You know, third time's a charm, right? It's going to take off now. That's what I'm telling myself. It's myself, Smokey Massacre, and joining me, we got Courtney, a.k.a. Chopstick. You can call her whatever you want.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good. How are you doing? You're on the podcast already. It's still early in the podcast's history, but you're getting in early.
It feels pretty early for a second-time competitor on the course, so I feel excited about this.
You are. You've been. Your second run is coming up in the next episode. So this podcast should be coming out the Saturday before Tournament 26, Episode 2. So get ready for that episode. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. You'll see Chopstick's run as well as a plethora of great runs, including... I don't want to, I'm not spoiling anything here, but I might say it might be the most exciting Stage 1 run of all time.
Ooh,
that's my tease. Okay. So anyway, today, well, first things first. So for a little background, myself and Courtney, we've known each other for a very long time. We met in 2019 in Japan, right?
That's right.
That's when you got there.
Mm-hmm.
And then we actually did a radio show together for about a year. Actually, I think almost exactly a year.
Good times.
It was a lot of fun. So we did a radio show in Japan, and you know what's funny? Speaking of, I want to talk a little bit about radio because I think that's going to help us both a lot here on the podcast. But it's funny because I used to have so many radio nightmares when I worked at AFN.
It's a thing.
It was terrible, and they were awful. And I left Japan. I moved here. I don't do radio anymore. Radio nightmares, gone. All completely gone. And you know what? I do the first ever HNW podcast, and within like 2 nights, I'm having radio nightmares again.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, I'm not surprised. They creep back into my dreams every once in a while, too.
Yeah, I'm hoping to avoid them from here on out. But did you bring any drinks today? Because I got something.
I did. All right. So I just have, a little glass of Cabernet.
Oh, perfect. Well, I got some South Korean soju right here. So cheers. Virtual cheers.
They don't sell that in Florida. I tried.
I guess California is a little bit closer to Asia. All right, let's get into this. So the whole point of today's podcast is you're interviewing me. You know, we did a lot of radio shows together, and I don't think we ever really interviewed each other.
I didn't think you were going to go for this. When you told me you wanted to do a podcast, I kind of jokingly was like, I can interview you.
You know what's funny is we talked about it, and I was like, I guess I could let her do a podcast. But then you told me what your first question would be, and I was like, actually, yes, I'm sold. Let's do this.
Yeah, did you think that I would come unprepared without a really great question to start with?
It's been a long time. We've been off the radio for so long that I underestimated you. Okay,
well, let's get to it.
Let's do it.
The first question, when you told me you wanted to do this podcast and talk about, Halo Ninja Warrior, how it all got started, I wanted to know if you remember the first time that you ever watched Sasuke, because that's kind of where a lot of this interest really began.
It absolutely is where the interest began. And, it's funny because, well, actually, this is amazing timing. So my brother and my niece and my brother's girlfriend, they all just came to visit me in California. It was a great time. We had a great few days together, and I really enjoyed them being here. But the reason I bring my brother up is because the first time I ever watched Sasuke was with him, but he does not remember it. I have brought this up to him a number of times, and he'll be like, yeah, I don't remember. He doesn't even remember the trip that we took. There was a trip that we took when I was a lot younger. He's 8.5 years older than me, so, he was, I don't even know how old he was. Could have been in his 30s for all I know. But I was a little kid, and we went to go visit one of my aunts. I think we went to Maryland probably. We left Iowa and traveled to the East Coast, I think. And it was just me and him in a hotel together. It was just me and him. That's it. And at some point, he got G4 on TV, and G4 was airing, they called it Ninja Warrior, and it was just Sasuke, but they had it kind of Americanized with the subtitles and all that. And apparently a lot of the subtitles were not accurate. But yeah, it was still the Japanese announcer, and it's just very exciting and very fun. I remember watching it and thinking, this is so much fun. I love everything about what I'm watching right now. and I was glued to the TV in that hotel with my brother watching G4 Ninja Warrior. And I don't, I think after that, it probably was actually a good chunk of time before I saw it again after that time in the hotel room. But I remember that was the first time. Whatever the second time was, that I don't remember. But I remember the instant I saw it, I was glued.
And then when did you start watching it kind of like regularly? Like you really got into it?
Well, probably when American Ninja Warrior really took off. So season 2 of American Ninja Warrior was the first one. Because there was American Ninja Warrior season 1, and honestly, I still to this day I don't really remember it, but I remember season 2 was where they actually had a bunch of Americans try out, and then they would go to the boot camp, and the 10 best Americans would actually go get to compete in Sasuke in Japan. So that's what really interested me from American Ninja Warrior season 2, and then season 3 did it again. Season 3 was even better in my opinion. That one they were participating in Sasuke 27. But I think those are the only two that I really remember being like that, because then American Ninja Warrior 4 was all done in America, in like Las Vegas. Brent Stephenson getting to stage 3. You got to interview him on the radio, by the way.
Woohoo!
So it's just that's kind of where I think the hotel G4 Ninja Warrior experience was like piqued my interest, and it was a core memory for me. But the American Ninja Warrior, when they started including those Americans going to Sasuke, that's where it became like a big deal to me.
Okay, so I mean, I know this is a Halo podcast, so we want to obviously tie Halo into this a little bit. Were you playing Halo? Well, obviously you weren't playing it at the time that you saw G4, but when did you start playing Halo, and what kind of got you into that?
You know what's funny is, so I'm gonna bring my brother up again. So I've kind of got this thing with my brother, like, and I've probably told him this a couple times, and I probably told him while he just visited, is that throughout my entire childhood, I would just see the things that my brother did, and I would be like, that's so cool, I want to do that, but I would always take it to the next level. It was skateboarding first. He did a little bit of skateboarding here and there, and I was like, I'm going to skateboard for like 7 years. And then it was like filmmaking. He's like, oh, I made a short film for class. And I was like, oh, filmmaking, yeah, I just want that to be my entire passion in life, which it still is. But another thing was video games. He would play video games just a little bit, and then I would be like, oh, I want to play those games. So we had a GameCube growing up. And I remember we played a lot of Tony Hawk, and we played a lot of Call of Duty. But he got at some point he got an Xbox, and he got Halo 3. And I remember the exact words, for whatever reason. I think Halo 3 was rated M. So, as a younger kid, I wasn't like supposed to play it. And I remember at some point my brother said, it's okay, I don't think you would really like it anyway. And he wasn't like trying to mess with me or joke with me. He was just, I think, well, maybe he was, I don't know. In my memory, he was like being genuine. And the funniest thing about that is I took that and I was like, you know what? He's probably right. I actually believe him. I'm listening to my brother right now. I believe him. I would not have liked to play Halo, so I'm just not even going to bother. And I didn't bother for a long time. I didn't bother until I gotta Google something really quick. Because I don't actually remember when it came out. So, all right, so that, I think Halo 3, the original Halo 3 came out sometime in 2007, I believe.
All right.
It wasn't, I didn't get into Halo until Halo 3 ODST came out, which was September 22nd, which might be Bilbo and Frodo's birthday.
I always got to have a Lord of the Rings reference.
Oh, yeah. Get ready for the Lord of the Rings themed podcast coming up later. I'm excited about that one. So, September 22nd, 2009. That's when ODST came out. I don't know if I got ODST right away. But the thing, Courtney, you wouldn't know this, but Halo 3 was its own Halo game. Halo 3 ODST was a separate game that came out. However, the version of Halo 3 ODST that I got, it came with 2 discs. One for Halo 3 ODST, and one that was a Halo 3 multiplayer-only game. So you didn't get the storyline of Halo 3, you couldn't play the campaign, but you could do all of the multiplayer that Halo 3 had, including all of the downloadable content. So that was my first experience with Halo 3, and from Halo 3, there was a YouTube video. You know what's funny is I found there was an even older Halo 3 YouTube video that I didn't know about until a few weeks ago. But there's this Halo. There was a video that came out with someone doing an obstacle course in Halo 3, and it was just one person running. That was all. But they did it to make it look like they were running a Ninja Warrior course, and they used the G4 graphics and all that. So I remember seeing that and thinking that would be cool. And like platforming maps, I'd probably seen a couple of them on Halo 3, and I wanted to build my own. So that's where I built my first ever jump map. Not necessarily a Ninja Warrior course, but like an actual platforming map. I built my first one on Halo 3.
That's crazy. I mean, did you, like, when you built that for the first time, was your brother just like, what are you doing? Like,
I think my brother was off to college by that point.
Oh, he was like out of the house.
Oh yeah, because I mean, like I said, he went to college when he was probably 18. He was 8.5 years older than me, so I was still like 9. I hadn't even turned 10 by the time I think he left. So yeah, the Halo experience in my childhood, like growing up, all my Halo experience. It's funny, my brother was not a part of that at all. The only Halo interaction that I really ever had with him was, I don't think you'd like it, and me going, yeah, you're probably right.
And how many Halo Ninja Warrior tournaments? You're going into your 26th one?
Tournament 26 is wrapped up, so I'm ready to host 27. Yeah, Steven, where were your courses at? I didn't see them. I think I get him on one of these. Okay.
You do. I would love to hear what he thinks about you hosting all these tournaments now. So your tournament started when? 2011, 2012?
The first, you know what? I wish I had this type of initiative nowadays, but I know when the first Halo Ninja I know exactly when the first Halo Ninja Warrior episode came out, but I gotta see when the game came out. I love doing podcasts right next to my computer. So the Halo 4. Well, actually, you could get me diving deeper into a whole nother discussion. So I actually did build a Halo Ninja Warrior course on Halo Reach. And I actually hosted it, kind of. I remember Soul Reaper getting to stage 3. That's like one memory that I have. But I built that course on Halo Reach, and I actually uploaded a few videos, but never really completed a full tournament. And I ended up deleting those videos, which I highly regret. Deleting videos off of YouTube is the stupidest thing you could do. Just make them unlisted if you don't want people to see them. But there might be a time in your life where you want to go back and rewatch it. So please don't ever delete your YouTube videos. So when Halo 4 came out, it came out November 6th of 2012. And the first ever Halo Ninja Warrior episode came out December 2nd of 2012. So less than a month after the game came out, I got my first episode of Halo Ninja Warrior up.
So when you first started hosting the course, how many competitors were you having on the course, and how did it kind of evolve from the very first one to what it is now?
I can give you the whole breakdown. So tournaments 1 and 2 were both 20 competitors, very small scale, obviously.
Yeah.
2020. Tournament 3 was 30 competitors. Tournament 4, I was out of my mind. I went with 35, which really screwed things up. But I'll actually get to how I remedied that a little bit later on. So that was 35. Tournament 5 was 40 competitors. And then Tournament 6, I'll say this. People forget about Tournament 6 a lot. Tournament 6 did 2 massive things. Tournament 6 was my first ever 50 competitor tournament. And it was also the first ever tournament that I didn't make every single Spartan blue, because I finally found a game mode that would work that wouldn't force everyone to be on the blue team. Instead, they could actually represent their true Spartan colors. And then, so Tournament 6 was the first 50 competitor tournament. What I was hinting at earlier is Tournament 8, there was a whole lot of issues that happened, and I only had 46 competitors. So when you look at the grand scale of how many runs happened in Halo Ninja Warrior, I had a tournament with 35 competitors and a tournament with 46 competitors. So it kind of threw the total numbers out of whack a little bit. So when Tournament 10 came around, I hosted a tournament of 59 runs instead of 50 to get it back to a nice round number. An interval of 50, essentially. So I did 59 in Tournament 10, and it wasn't until Tournament 19 that I did my first ever 100 competitor tournament, and it's been 100 competitors a tournament ever since 19.
All right, so obviously you've been doing this for a really long time. So there has to be some things that you love about hosting the course. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, when it comes to hosting the course, I mean, there's so many aspects of it. There's forging the obstacles, which sometimes is really my favorite part, just like building the mass, building the obstacles, coming up with something new. There's
Yeah.
getting the runs, which can sometimes be like pulling teeth. Hey, you want to do a run? Hey, like, I host this course. Do you want to do a run? This guy's running someone else's course now. Hey, Halo Ninja Warrior's a thing that I do. Do you want to compete? It's that.
I mean,
That's not the trying to get competitors is probably my least favorite part.
yeah. Well, and then also you're getting competitors from like all over the world.
That's. I'm glad you brought that up because that was when I lived in Japan. I noticed, like, if you look at my Japan tournaments, I guarantee there are an insane amount more competitors that lived in Australia. Just because we were like, because when it was late my time, like at the times that I could be on Xbox, the only people that are online are Australians. The Americans are all asleep.
Well, yeah, no, I think that's just from my short time and like, learning about your course from the time that we've known each other at least. I just think that's one of the coolest parts about it is how you literally have people from all over the world competing on your Halo Ninja Warrior course that you started,
Well,
like over 10 years ago now.
let me throw this one at you then. So I the only way I'm going off of this is based on my After Effects project file that has every single flag that I used for this tournament. So
Yeah.
I'm just going to go through the countries that participated in Tournament 26. Granted,
Alright.
it is like a significant amount are from America, and then there's a good
Right.
amount from the UK. So America and UK, no surprise there. But we did have a competitor from Greece. We had
Ooh.
at least one Australian competitor. I can't remember if there's one or more Australian competitors. We have Sane the Legend from Canada. We had a competitor from Latvia. We had a competitor from Lithuania. We had a competitor
Nice.
from New Zealand, Spending 37, and everyone knows him. And then we had also our favorite competitor from Taiwan, Volcanic Crowd. So, we got Latvia, Taiwan, America, New Zealand, UK, Greece, Australia, Canada, and Latvia. 9 different countries.
Ooh. Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. Are there any other favorite things that you love about hosting the course?
Yeah, I was thinking about it earlier, and I came up with this equation of
A whole equation for it.
It's very simple. It's a 1 + 1 = 2 type of thing.
I never thought the word equation sounded simple.
What were your grades in math?
It was a challenge.
You know what's funny is
we'll just say that.
throughout my entire middle school and high school experience, I never once, not a single time, got an A in a science class. However,
What?
I never once got below an A in any math class. So I don't know, like there's something wired incorrectly up there. Science I just couldn't grasp, but math I got it.
I mean, I wasn't terrible at math. Like if I actually applied myself, I would get a good grade. So, I had like A's, B's, C's, whatever, kind of
just
across the
enjoyed it.
spectrum depending on how much I applied myself. Anyways, that's not what we came here to talk about.
So here's the equation.
Okay.
And this is all 3 of these things are what I love. You have
All right.
here's the 3 things. You got patterns, you've got outliers, and you've got stories. So here's the thing. Patterns plus outliers equals stories. And that is what I have come to love after over 10 years of hosting this course. I'll give you a perfect example of this equation.
Yes. I need an explanation.
Patterns. Hunter Unit 751. Clear stage 1 19 times in a row. That is a pattern. He keeps clearing stage 1. The outlier, Tournament 20, he fails stage 1. What do you get out of that? A story.
Yeah. Okay.
That is what I love about this course, is that there are so many stories. There is a big story. Again, I'm not going to spoil it. There is something that I spend a few seconds discussing in this next episode that is, to me, one of the biggest stories of Tournament 26 that I can't wait for people to actually see. But
All right.
I think that's what it's come down to for me, more so over the years. I think early on, it was kind of more the excitement of, let's just see how people do on this course, you know? But the longer you do your course, with that longevity, you get the patterns, you get the outliers, you get the stories, and that, to me, is what makes the course... That's what keeps bringing me back, because if it was just, oh, I'm just going to host this course, and if you were to tell me, like, hey, every tournament you host from here on out, you're getting 100 competitors with a clean slate, I'd say, no, I'm not interested in that. What makes it interesting is the background on every single competitor, how they've done before in the course. You got competitors that are reaching their 20th appearance. You got competitors that are newcomers, and they have success. We just saw 2 newcomers clear in the last episode. You have competitors that are more intermediate. Like, one of my favorite things ever, and this lends itself right to my equation. You got 2 people, Avows the Samurai and Volcanic Crowd, failed stage 1 8 times in a row. They're just, and you see a lot of competitors like that. Can't clear stage 1. That's okay. They keep coming back. They have fun with it. And then somehow both in the same tournament, they're both on their 9th appearance, and they both clear stage 1 for their first time. And that's a story.
I love that. That's so cool. All right, so you bring up a good point when you're talking about all that, because obviously for every tournament that you have, you're keeping stats.
I do, yeah.
For each tournament. So would you say that keeping stats is like something that you enjoy about it, or is that kind of like just a tedious thing that needs to be done?
No, well, I think sometimes I can make it tedious, but honestly, there will be times, and this happened a lot editing Tournament 26, where I come up with this idea, and I'm like, you know what? I actually want all the numbers on that. And I will go through my wiki. The wiki is the most clutch thing that exists. I created, but other people have taken over it. They update it like crazy, and I really, really appreciate the people who update it honestly. I will say this.
Yeah, that's super awesome.
I have found some things that have been put on the Halo Ninja Warrior wiki that are incorrect, and I don't know if that's just a mistake on whoever edited it, but I'd happen to notice that the people who make those mistakes are not the people that are consistently editing it, so it makes me think that there might be some shenanigans going on there, and I will say that if I catch that, that person is getting blocked. If you are editing the wiki and you edit with inaccurate content, that's going to be it. But I feel like the majority...
Yeah, not cool.
But I have some people that work on it, and they do incredible stuff updating it, like, literally as the episode is premiering. So that the wiki really helps out with that, but when it comes to those stats, I get so sidetracked. I'll just be like, "Oh, I want to learn about this." So I have to go through every single tournament to like add up all the numbers. But it's worth it.
I know you'll think of like stats and be like, "I need to make a video about this stat." Like, I don't social media video.
Oh yeah, I guess in some cases, yeah. I don't think there's some stats. So I've got my whole spreadsheet here, my Google Sheets thing, and there's like a tab at the bottom for every single different tournament. But I have one right after. That's the fun stats, and it's just this big, jumbled up mess of a spreadsheet that just has a whole bunch of different random stats that I could find, including like lowest stage 1 obstacle clear rate with a minimum of 10 attempts. I've got back-to-back tournament stage 1 clear percentage. I got consecutive stage 3s. I noticed I tallied how many competitors in Halo Ninja Warrior history have actually made it to back-to-back stage 3s, and I was shocked to find out the number is only 17 people. That's not a lot of people.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of really good jumpers that you would think would have done it that haven't done it. So yeah, I love stats like that because, again, that lends to the storylines.
That's very true. Well, I remember when, I was in Japan with you, and I kind of did a whole story on you.
You did.
Based on your Halo Ninja Warrior course and also your interest in Halo Ninja Warrior Sasuke. Kind of like this right now, but just like a written piece. And I remember you had this binder, and you would write everybody's like information down in gamer tags, and like I don't even know what all was in that thing. But can you talk about that, and then do you still use it?
Well, it's a good thing I record video, isn't it?
Yeah.
Literally sitting right in front of me. This is my HNW binder. So Courtney, you actually can't see the video right now, but the audience can. You'll be able to see it later. So yeah, in this binder, so for a long time, I would just write everything down in a spreadsheet on a computer, and I eventually, especially after Tournament 8, which if you know, I realized that just having things in a digital form is not the most reliable, and anything could go wrong at any moment.
Yeah.
So I didn't start in Tournament 9, though. I waited till Tournament 11. But in Tournament 11, I started actually writing down every single run that would happen. So this is... I'm hitting the mic like crazy, but here's tournament, like this is tournament 11, you're not really going to be able to see it, but like I've just got pages and pages and pages and pages and all these pages of tournaments.
Dang.
So yeah, I've got a whole binder that's just filled with sheets. So as someone's doing their run, I do three things technically. I record it live, so I've got to add their information like on the run, which is typically just their number and gamer tag. I've got the binder, which now I've got like an actual printout that I do. I print out, obviously. And
yeah, I was gonna ask. Like, tell me you print some stuff now.
I do. I don't just do it on. I don't do it on loose leaf paper anymore. I actually print out the proper worksheet that I have for it, and I'll put like the number is already filled out like through text because it's fancy like that. But I'll add their gamer tag, how many times they've been on the course, what they fail. I'll add notes. I have a notes tab if I need any, which typically I'll use for like this competitor had a different gamer tag before or something like that. And then I just also note what country they're from. And now, as of Tournament 26, whether or not they are playing on Xbox or PC, and I'll transfer some of that information also goes over to the spreadsheet. The spreadsheet is probably the most useful thing that I have. In terms of like actually monitoring the tournament and organizing how it's laid out, because breaking the fourth wall a little bit here, but the order that the runs happen in reality is not usually the same as the order that they are shown in the videos. So when someone is actually number 100 in the video, I'll be honest, I don't think there's ever been a case where someone was number 100 in the episode that came out and they were also number 100 in the actual chronological run order. Sorry to burst that bubble, but that's just the truth.
Yeah, no, I feel like I learned that really quickly, and I think that's kind of an interesting thing. But there has to be, okay, you put a lot of work into these courses. We talked about the things that you love about hosting. So what are some things that you don't love so much?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I think, I hate to use the word begging, but sometimes it does feel like begging for competitors. It's actually kind of frustrating because, like right now, with where my YouTube channel is at, if 1 out of every 17 people who is subscribed to my channel would do a run, boom, I got 100 runs in a tournament. Halo Infinite is free. You can download it. You don't even have to pay for it right now. The multiplayer is free. So you could literally compete on Halo Ninja Warrior for free as long as you have a system that can run the game. Yeah. So if 1 out of every 17 people who is subscribed to my channel competed, then I would have 100 competitors per tournament. Now, that is not the case. I do get to a point where I had to start searching for people to compete. So the goal, the ultimate goal with this course is to never have to do that. Like I don't have, I'm going to keep it going either way, but if I had one goal in mind, it would be to get to a point where I can get 100 competitors without having to ask anyone. And there is some talk about whether or not it would be worth going back to 50, and I will say this right now.
Okay.
Right now, if I were to go back to 50 competitor tournaments, then I would have to be turning people away from the course, and I do not want to do that. So 100 competitors, it's just a big jump from 50 to 100. Honestly, if like the perfect number for me right now would probably be something like 75. However, who wants to watch a 75 competitor tournament? That sounds stupid. So I'm sticking with 100, and the goal is to eventually build it up to the point where 100 is not. It takes no effort on my part in terms of the getting competitors. The only other things, I mean, the editing is something that's like back and forth. Sometimes I really enjoy it. Sometimes it's very tedious and I don't enjoy it. And I would say that honestly, I would say if you have been following Halo Ninja Warrior for a long time, you've seen hiatuses from me. And I guarantee if I am having a hiatus, it is down to one of two things. It's either stuck in the editing process and I've reached the point where I just don't have the motivation to edit, or
I've ventured your life.
You said
No, I'm
what?
just kidding. I said I entered your life.
Yeah, that too. Um, or no, I was having problems before I
Yeah,
met
no,
you.
I know.
It's either I'm stuck in the editing process and I just don't have the motivation to edit, or I need more competitors. I don't have all 100 competitors for the tournament yet, and I just don't feel like going to try and find new people.
Yeah. All right, there's something else I'm curious about. I feel like this has to be funny. I mean, do you ever have people that are complaining about obstacles?
Oh my goodness.
What's the least favorite obstacle? What do people hate? And
Well,
yeah, how do you handle that?
it's funny. We actually touched on this a little bit in the last podcast because
Okay.
Snaz will always talk about it, not necessarily exactly the way you asked it, but Snaz will always
Mm-hmm.
talk about how there are a lot of jumpers out there. I'm not going to name any names, but there are a lot that if they do not immediately succeed at a new obstacle, especially if it's a stage 1 obstacle, they will
Mm-hmm.
like verbally banish it.
Okay.
Because and it is frustrating because it's like, all right, well, you're not taking the time to actually try to learn the techniques for this obstacle. You didn't figure it out your way right away, so you think it's a bad obstacle, and I'm sorry, but that's just not the case. Bad obstacles that I've gotten the most criticism for in the past. I mean, right now I'm getting criticism for my turret jump. In the past, it was definitely the hedgehog in tournament 18. And you know what's funny about it is only 4 people failed it. Like all the people who complained about it, they all beat the obstacle. So it's just kind of like, really, you're gonna complain
Come
about it, but
on.
you're still gonna beat it. So like, and constructive again. If you want to get a whole spiel on this, go watch the last podcast because we really touched in on a lot of this type of stuff. But yeah, if you want to give honest feedback, please go for it. But if you're just gonna bash someone's obstacle because you're just not good at it, then
What's the what's the obstacle that I failed on? What's it
well,
called?
in tournament 25, you failed the rolling hill. Tournament 26, the episode hasn't come out yet, so I don't know which one you're talking about.
Oh, you have no idea.
I got no idea. It's not like I've done
Right.
the commentary for it or anything,
The
but
ro- the rolling what?
the rolling hill, that's what you failed in tournament 25.
Yeah, that's a stupid obstacle. You should ban that one from all future tournaments.
That's what some people say. But you know, also some people will like lovingly joke about obstacles they failed. I know like Chumpy's a good example of like he put his 10 favorite like Halo Ninja Warrior obstacles in
Ooh, yeah.
in the Discord, and I think it was like maybe the crooked wall. He was like, yeah, the crooked wall is in my top 10, but also screw that obstacle. I hate it because I keep failing it or whatever. Well, he didn't fail it a lot, but other people did.
Do
So
you have a favorite obstacle?
actually, yeah, I put it in. Well, it's the jump hang kai for sure. It's a pretty obstacle and it's got options. You can go inside, you can go outside. It's just a really good staple obstacle of Halo Ninja Warrior. I think I put number 2 as the falling plank. I think the falling plank throughout the regen era was just incredible in terms of balancing veterans and newcomers alike. Newcomers could clear it, veterans could fail it. It was such a scary obstacle, but it was still so doable. But it was so easy to fail at the same time. I don't know. It was just one of those perfectly balanced stage 1 obstacles, and it is the most failed Halo Ninja Warrior obstacle of all time now. But
Ooh.
I love the falling plank. It is definitely high up on my list, and unfortunately, Halo Infinite. Maybe there's a way for me to remake it, but if there is, I haven't figured it out yet. So yeah, there's no falling plank in Halo Infinite yet.
Right. All right. So, we talked about a lot of different things. I know, like, so you were in Japan for a little while. You actually got to go see
Oh my
Sasuke
goodness.
in person there. You probably
Kind
talked
of.
about this too before, but did that like just like give you some more energy to go and like do some more cool things with your course?
Well, I just gotta say, Japan in general, like finding out I was going there. I mean, how did you feel when you found out you were gonna be moving to Japan?
I mean, I was excited, obviously. Like, you're living in Tokyo and like it's an insanely massive city.
It
It's
is.
so hard to even describe. Like, there's endless things to do there.
I was just messaging you earlier today talking about all the things that I wish we could be doing right now that we
I
can't do
know.
here. We could do it in Tokyo though.
I
Japan.
came to like a super small town in Florida, so I don't even know what to do with
I mean, I
myself
came to
sometimes.
California where everything that I could ever imagine is like a 2-hour drive in any direction, but it's just not the same as being in Tokyo. There's just so much to do, and I mean, here's where I'm at. Like, I remember shipping off to basic training and feeling like I was leaving everything that I ever knew, going to Texas. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm going to Texas. I'm terrified, and I was terrified. I was struggling. I got to basic training that first night, and I remember like getting up in the middle of the night and going to the bathroom, and I was like washing my face. I was probably crying. I was having a hard time on my first night, and then eventually like you get through it. The first night was easily the worst, but I just remember that like sinking feeling I had, knowing I was like leaving my family and like leaving my dad and going to Texas. And then I found out I was going to go to Japan, and I never once got any negative feeling whatsoever. It was pure excitement from the second I found out I was going to Japan to the second I landed in Japan. There was never oh my goodness, I'm leaving home. Like, I never had that feeling once. It was just pure excitement 100% of the time. And I got to Japan, and Sasuke was my big in with Japan. That was the one way that I had a big connection with Japan, because I had been watching Sasuke. At that point, I was a big fan of pure Sasuke. Not Ninja Warrior, not American Ninja Warrior, but actual Japanese Sasuke. I would be staying up until 3 or 4 in the morning to watch the live streams. So I was already very in deep with both Halo Ninja Warrior and Sasuke by the time I found out I was going to Japan. And then being in Japan, it was was it going into 2019 or going into no, it had to be going into 2020. Oh goodness.
Yeah, going into 2020.
Yeah, so it was New Year's Eve of 2019 and going into 2020. You and I were both there in Yokohama
randomly,
but we didn't actually see each other.
I didn't go see Sasuke.
No, so I didn't actually get to watch the whole Sasuke tournament, but they had the final stage built at Yokohama, and they aired Sasuke 36. It's 36 or 37, I think, one of those two. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna be crucified for not knowing. It was it was
somebody will know in the comments.
They will know. They'll tell me, Smokey, how'd you not know it was Sasuke 36? I could have looked it up, but I'm not going to. But anyway, I remember watching it. They had a big TV out there where you could actually watch it live. It was so cold. I was freezing. Every commercial break. I
remember how cold it was.
Every commercial break, we'd be running back into the Red Brick Warehouse to just warm up for a minute and then go back out to watch the rest. But I remember the hype when 2 people cleared stage 3 of that tournament, and we got to watch. So I did get to see Sasuke live technically, because I got to watch both of them do the final stage with my own eyes, which was spectacular. And I just remember, what's funny is I remember watching them both do it live, but the one thing I remember more than anything else from that night, it's embedded in my brain, is watching Makoto Nagano walking up and like standing near the final stage and giving the actual countdown for New Year's. Like, I just remember him like going 3, 2, 1, and it's Makoto Nagano, and he's arguably the greatest Sasuke competitor of all time. Everyone loves Nagano, so I think going there, I got the shirt, I got the scarf. I remember I got some Sasuke swag from Japan. I was like, wow, this is the highlight of my Sasuke experience right now. So yeah, coming back from that, I definitely had it definitely fueled me more for doing Halo Ninja Warrior stuff.
Yeah. Do you feel like it was fate, like joining the military, and then, I mean, because you even had an instance where you're supposed to join the military sooner. I'll let you share that story. And then straight out the gate, you're going to Japan, and you love Sasuke. You're going to get to go there and just immerse yourself in the culture there, and also host tournaments there. Yeah. It just feels like fate to me. Is kind of a cool thing.
Yeah, I guess
because of how you got started.
Maybe it was fate. I don't know. I do wish. I think like hosting the course from Japan, it's a lot easier hosting in America now, just because of time zones.
Yeah.
But being in Japan, so the only reason I always tell this story, the only reason I actually got stationed in Japan is because I broke my toe playing pool. I was playing pool in my home by myself one time, and I walked into the couch and broke my pinky toe. It was pointed out like at a 45-degree angle. And I was supposed to have a voice audition for my career field the very next day. I couldn't go to it because of my toe, and it was months before I got another chance at that. So if I had gone earlier, I might have gotten shipped out earlier. I might have gotten orders earlier, and there might not have been a slot available in Japan at the time. So because I had to wait,
you would have never met Chopstick.
Yeah, mine. Well, who knows? Maybe I would have gotten shipped to,
somewhere else.
McDill, you know.
Yeah, meet somewhere, Florida.
Yeah, could maybe it would happen either way. I don't know, but
who knows?
Yeah, and then going to Japan, I did apply for Sasuke like very shortly after I got there, and I didn't my application, as far as I know, they just threw it in the trash. So, and then I got fat that like right after, like not long after that. So I didn't apply after that. But I did have like the Alpha Warrior guys came to Yokota. Brent Stephenson, Brittany Reed, and Rebecca Bonilla, I believe, were the three that I got to interview. And like the Alpha Warrior rig was set up, and I would go practice on that a little bit. So I still got some like actual Ninja Warrior practice out of it.
Yeah, you know, one of the other things that I really love about your course is that like I feel like no two are the same. You're constantly evolving it, whether it's I mean, obviously you change the obstacles and stuff like that, but also the editing. So every time somebody watches the next tournament, you're always changing something up so it doesn't look the same. It doesn't, necessarily get boring or like you expect the same things every single time.
When it comes to that, I try to find a theme that I want to stick with and stick with that theme for a while. So if you go back and you watch the MCC tournaments 13 through 16, you'll see, you look at the graphics in tournament 13 and you look at the graphics in tournament 16. It's the same style, it's the same concept and the same theme. However, the graphics are improved every single time.
Yeah.
Whether it's just visual improvements, other editing improvements, things like that. So Halo Infinite, you all have seen with Tournament 26, Episode 1, it's a whole new editing ballpark in terms of the graphics. And that to me was just because it's a new game, so I have an excuse to start fresh. But if you go back, if you look at the last 5 Halo 5 tournaments 21 through Tournament 25, those are the first 5 tournaments of the Regeneration era post Fireball's Total Victory. And in all 5 of those tournaments, I have the same graphic style. Aside from the profiles, I switched that up in Tournament 25. But if you look at the lower thirds and the run in the top right corner, like the competitor with the timer and all that, it's the same style. However, I just make upgrades kind of throughout. So it's all about finding a theme and sticking with it, but improving upon that theme. So now that I'm in a Halo Infinite, I've got my new theme. And moving forward, like once I go into Tournament 27, I'm going to try to make some upgrades to it and try to make subtle improvements. So the thing is, when I start a tournament, say I start editing Tournament 26, Episode 1, the very first run of the tournament, I need all the graphics that I'm going to need throughout the tournament for that run. And while the tournament is progressing, while I'm editing, the time from when I'm editing from when I am editing run number 1, from the time that I'm editing run number 100, it could be months. And throughout those months, I'm coming up with all sorts of ideas of how I could improve each and every graphic, but I'm not going to change graphics mid-tournament.
Okay.
So what that does is when Tournament 27 rolls around, all the ideas that I had between number 1 and number 100, I get to apply them into a new tournament, and that's where the new graphics set in and actually take place. And that's where you see those changes. So Tournament 20, sometimes I've done it mid-tournament in some cases. A big one is Tournament 25. So Tournament 25, I have never in the history of Halo Ninja Warrior done a face cam whatsoever. I decided, you know what?
Yeah.
I got 3 people who made it to the final stage in Tournament 25. This is a very big deal. And in my defense, it's the first time we're seeing the final stage in the Regeneration era. So I have the right to make up something new. And
That's true, yeah.
I went with the face cam. I could argue that could have been done in Tournament 21, and I had already made that decision. I hadn't, but I could argue it. So when it came to Tournament 26, I was like, you know what? I like the face cam aspect. I want to incorporate it more. So we are going to add it in a way that feels right to me. So I've had a lot of face cam in episode 1. There was a lot of response to it, mostly positive, maybe a little bit negative. I'm not really sure. I don't care because I really like the face cam. I think it adds a new layer to my commentary style and just the video in general. So I'm going to keep doing that moving forward. But that is the face cam is the perfect example of me kind of messing around with an idea in one tournament and then severely applying it in the next tournament.
Yeah. All right. Well, do you know if your brother watches your tournaments now?
I don't know. I put out podcast number 2, and they came over the same day. I think like the day I uploaded it, because I recorded it Sunday morning, and they came. I recorded Sunday morning, posted it Sunday, or maybe a Saturday morning. I don't know. Either way,
yeah.
I was watching it to review it because I like to listen to everything that I do to make sure personal review is very important.
Yeah.
For all content creators, but they came over while I was in the middle of listening to it on myself, just listening to it by myself to see how I sounded, and they walked in. They're like, "Oh, we were just watching this." I was like, "Oh man!" So they do watch the podcast. All right.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, hopefully
cool.
they'll see it because yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I know you and me. Obviously, we got the radio background. So when it comes to interviewing people, that I know, like the instant I brought up, or you asked if you could be on a podcast, and you're like, you knew that what you would specialize in would be the interviewing aspect. So.
I mean, I did kind of throw it out there jokingly, but also I knew that I could interview you. I just didn't know if you were ready for it. I didn't know if you could handle it.
You interviewed me once for the written article you did, so.
I know, yeah. There's a recording of that somewhere.
Oh yeah, I guess there is. Wow.
It's probably,
I wonder what I said in that one, because that was probably what, 3 years ago.
Yeah, it was a long one.
Was it?
Yeah,
had to make you work
there
for
was
it.
A lot of stuff in there. Exactly.
Well, now you can write a whole new article with this podcast that we just recorded.
All right, I'll update it on Divids. I'll update the article.
Oh goodness. But anyway, yeah. So, long story short, like to summarize this, there is a lot of things that led up to my interest in hosting Halo Ninja Warrior, and what led to Halo Ninja Warrior being what it is now. I really enjoy it. I'll be honest. There have been a lot of times throughout the 10 years I've been hosting where I have had the thought of, should I call it? Should I just say this is the last one? Should I just cancel it here? And I've had those thoughts. And this is a more immature host in me thinking that, and going with, you know what, maybe this will be my last tournament. And then eventually I get that itch again, and I say, you know what, no, I want to host the next one.
But now you have PC players. Right? So that's like a new thing that you're able to have.
That's just a funny thing to compare to what I was talking about.
Well, because
thank you,
it's like
PC
a new
players,
thing,
for saving Halo Ninja Warrior.
Yeah, they did. I think they did.
No.
Honestly.
This is pre-PC. What I'm about to say has nothing to do with PC players. I'm being honest.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm just saying that, like, for me right now, I have no plans to end Halo Ninja Warrior. I don't think that it's going to happen anytime soon, because I have been in those mindsets before where I thought maybe this could be the end of it, and then I always get drawn back to it. So I can say, like, even if I have those thoughts again, eventually I'm going to have the thoughts that, like, I want to keep hosting. So I will never announce the end of Halo Ninja Warrior. Halo Ninja Warrior will never be over until I have 100% certainty that I want it to be over, and I don't think that's happening anytime for the next several years. So just to keep you all aware on the future of Halo Ninja Warrior, it's not going anywhere for a long time. And thanks, PC players.
Hey, like I said, it's a game changer.
Patty Freakin's the one. He's the one keeping me going. Thanks, Patty. And so Courtney, actually, I'm gonna swap this on you real quick. It's gonna be the longest podcast we've done so far, but it's okay. We'll get our money's worth out of this. Courtney, you've competed twice now. what has been, as a competitor, as someone who doesn't play Halo at all, going into this course, you're not a Ninja Warrior person. You don't really watch Ninja Warrior. So how have you felt going into this course and kind of learning about this course in general? What have been your big takeaways?
I feel like for me, I just see how much work and effort you put into it. I feel like everybody, you guys gather around and you watch the tournaments whenever you set the date or whatever. But like behind the scenes, I'll be there and you're like working on it, editing, doing all this crazy stuff. So I get to see it all coming together. And I've recently started actually, joining in on when you do the actual tournament dates. So for me, it's just seeing the whole process. And I decided that I wanted to be a part of it. I wanted to be Chopstick on the screen doing a jump, but mostly I like to crouch, apparently.
Spoilers.
So.
Yeah, I appreciate you competing, and I can't wait to see you back for Tournament 27 as well. The announcement for Tournament 27 is definitely going to be coming out in the next couple weeks, as well as the rest of Tournament 26. But I appreciate you joining me on the HNW podcast.
I need a boot camp training for this.
Honestly, that would actually be really good for you, and I think we might be able to arrange that.
Yeah, if you could have somebody who's really good do like a Halo Ninja Warrior boot camp training that I could join.
I'll ask Snaz. He's
okay. Perfect.
Snaz knows.
That's what I need.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of, that's another thing that I wanted to touch on that we didn't actually get into is that connection between people in the community. So I will say this: for my entire life, there's never been a single person that I had met on Xbox that I then met in real life until I met Snaz in real life. And you came to visit me in California, and we both got to meet Snaz. So what did that feel like to you to meet someone that the only way that you knew about him was because I had met him through Xbox? What was that like for you?
Yeah, no, I thought that was super cool. I freaking love that. And I think Snaz has always been awesome. I've only ever heard his voice just randomly talking when you guys are on Xbox or whatever. But to go and actually meet him in person and sit down and have a dinner and just get to know each other in person outside of the game, that's super cool to me. So I really enjoyed that experience.
Yeah, so that's another thing. I will say this, and I have seen messages like this before, and people can feel however they want to feel about this. I really don't care. There are lifelong friendships that are made through this community, through the Halo jumping community, and it's just as simple as that. There are people that I've known on Xbox longer than I've known other of my closest real life friends, and especially like Courtney, for you and me being in the military, we move around a lot. But guess what? Those people online, they stay there.
That's right. I mean, I hope that in the future, you can meet some of your other friends that you play online.
I don't want to meet any of the rest of them. They're all trash.
Sure.
No, I'm just kidding. No, I'd love to meet more. I really would. So Snaz was he was the lucky first one, but we'll see what goes on from there. But anyway, Courtney, thanks for taking the time to interview me and join in on the HNW podcast. I hope you learned something new. I don't know if I feel like I've talked to you a lot about all this before, so hopefully you learned something new from this interview experience.
No, thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, but anyways, Chopstick, she is in the next episode. Everyone I've interviewed on the HNW podcast so far this is the third one, and every single person who's been on the podcast so far is going to be in Tournament 26, Episode 2, which is coming out tomorrow if you're watching this as it comes out. So make sure you subscribe. Where's the button? It's somewhere over there in this area. Hit that button, subscribe, notify yourself. Actually, I think the premiere has already been announced anyway, so you can notify yourself on that announcement and watch Tournament 26, Episode 2. It is a very good and exciting episode. I can't wait for people to watch it. But anyways, thank you so much for joining me and Chopstick / Courtney on the HNW podcast, which was basically a new edition of Shogo Radio. And so I'll see you guys next time for HNW Podcast Episode 4. But Courtney, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.